Okay, good morning. This is a public meeting to consider the proposed comprehensive official plan and zoning bylaw amendments listed as items 1 to 6 on today's agenda. For the items just mentioned, only those who make oral submissions today or written submissions before the amendments are adopted may appeal the matter to the local planning appeal tribunal. In addition, the applicant may appeal the matter to the local planning appeal tribunal if council does not adopt an amendment within 150 days of receipt of the application for zoning and 210 days for an official plan amendment. A comment sheet is available over there at the door for anyone wishing to submit written comments on these amendments or to sign up to speak. And a note to the committee members, the councillors, as a reminder, if you have any motions on any of the items listed today, please send a copy to us ahead of the public delegation so that committee members and staff have an opportunity to review and, as necessary, clarify your motion during the discussion of the matter. Thank you very much. Okay, any declarations of interest? Councillor Chiarelli?
Okay, I, Councillor Rick Chiarelli, declare a potential deemed indirect pecuniary interest on Planning Committee Agenda 68, Item 11, Site Plan Control, 140 Main Street, the Immaculata High School, ACS 2018 PIE PS 0098, as my wife is an employee of the Ottawa Catholic School Board, and this was at the previous meeting where the item was considered, but I was not present.
So you're taking care of back business is what you're saying? Well, you couldn't have done anything about it since you weren't here anyway. So is that really even necessary?
Yeah, I'm supposed to declare it here and then bring it to council.
Okay. All right. So that's received. Confirmation of minutes. Minutes 68, 28th of August 2018.
With that amendment?
With that amendment. Thank you. Where are you going, Councillor Chiarelli? Okay. Okay. Zoning bylaw amendment, part of 3882 Barnsdale Road and part of 3960 Greenbank Road. The only speaker, this is in my area and my ward, and the only speaker is Hugo Lalonde from Minto. Does anyone have any questions on this? Hugo, if we're prepared to carry this, are you still needing to speak? Okay, thank you very much. This item carried. Thank you. More building for Barrhaven. Item number 2, again, is in my area. It's the zoning bylaw amendment, part of 3640 Greenbank Road. And I see we have Michelle Taggart here. I have no speakers. Hi, Michelle. Stephanie Morris, Raj Shapoor for Tamarack. Stephanie, there you are. Does anyone have any questions on this item? It's the next stage of the beautiful Tamarack development. No? So, Stephanie, do you need to speak? No, okay, we'll have your comments on file. Okay, so on this item, is it carried? Thank you very much.
Do you have a motion?
Oh, yeah, we have a motion from Councillor Vice Chair Tierney.
Great, thank you, Madam Chair. Therefore, be resolved that Planning Committee recommend Council consider their support at its meeting of the 12th of September 2018, pursuant to subsection 35.5 of the Procedural Bylaw 2016-377 to avoid further delays in this construction project.
Sorry?
Moving it tomorrow to Council.
Any reason why?
Just delays that that they've had to incur for extra information that we've asked them to bring forward. Construction season and all. So, Carrie? Thank you. So, okay, you heard that. So, item number 3, we have a speaker, Janet Kiff Macaluso. Janet, so we're going to hold that item. It's item number 3, which is the zoning bylaw amendment, 1795 Montreal Road. So you'll be the first item after I go through the... She supports with additions.
She supports.
With additions.
Yeah, and the additions are here.
Okay, so you want... So this is... Let me come back to it. Let's go through the... Just hang on. We'll get back to you very quickly. Zoning bylaw amendment for 2405 and 2419 Maire Bleu Road. Anyone have any questions on this one? No? This is, and Dan Paquette is here. Dan, if we're prepared to carry this, are you willing not to speak? That's a double negative. Are you prepared not to speak?
I am prepared not to speak.
If we pass it on consent? All right. Thank you very much. So is the item carried? Thank you. Item number 5 is the zoning bylaw amendment, anomaly 35 Edgewater Street. It's in Canada South. And I have nobody registered to speak. Is this item carried? Carried. Thank you. Item number 6 is the Canada Highlands Urban Expansion Area Official Plan Amendment and Comprehensive Study Report. It's in both Councillor Wilkinson and Councillor El Shantiri's area. I have one speaker, Julie Carrera from FOTAN. I see Kevin Yam here. Julie, does anyone have any questions on this? I did see correspondence from both Councillor El Shantiri and Councillor Wilkinson supporting this.
A couple of questions.
Okay, then we have to hold that item. And number 7 is Building Code Services branch staff increase.
Can you hold that, please?
Okay, and information previously distributed cash in lieu of parkland. See? Okay, so we'll go back to the beginning, and it's Janet, this is your item that we're coming back to, which is the zoning bylaw amendment for 1795 Montreal Road. And what we're going to do is the Vice Chair Tierney is going to read an amendment as it relates to this, and then I know that it says here that you are supportive with additions. So hopefully his additions are going to make you very supportive. Okay. Vice Chair Tierney?
Great, thank you. I'll dispense with the preamble. This is the anti-disco club part of it. Therefore, it be resolved that Planning Committee recommend Council approve Document 2 details recommended zoning by amending and replacing Section 2B with the following. Add column 4, the text all uses except office and warehouse, and be it further resolved that pursuant to the Planning Act subsection 3417 no further notice be given. And that, Madam Chair, I do want to thank the representative, Murray Chow, working so closely with the community. I think that was a key component to the success. At first, it appeared one thing, and by the end of it, it became harmonious. So thank you for the great work, Murray, on that, and with the Rothwell Homeowners Association.
Thank you, Vice Chair Tierney. Would you like to come and speak to that, Janet, or you're content with your comments and your... All right, that's good news. And Murray, do you need to speak if we're prepared to carry the amendment?
No, I don't need to speak. Thank you very much.
Like that very much. Thank you. So, on the amendment?
Carried.
Carried. And on the item as amended? Carried. Thank you. Now we're going over to Canada Highlands Urban Expansion Area Official Plan Amendment and Comprehensive Study Report. 2 questions from Councillor Leeper. So who's coming up to speak on this? Hello? Bienvenue? Okay, Councillor Leeper. And we also have Julie Carrera from FOTAN. So Julie, you might as well come up and have a seat, please.
Thanks, Chair. And I won't be long, and I am prepared to support the staff recommendation. One of the important pieces, the MNR approval is tentative. What are the next steps to getting a finalized approval? What are they going to have to demonstrate, and then what kind of paper gets produced? That's sorry, I should say that.
5 people up
Hello, Madam Chair. The Ministry of Natural Resources will not issue a permit for a proposed activity, only an activity. And since the official plan amendment is not actually approving any development, it's just approving an area for development, they will not issue a permit for that. So the most they will do is say there's a reasonable expectation that the proponent can get a permit based upon their concept plan. And so as when the proponent submits a plan of subdivision for the area, then they will also submit a permit application to the ministry, and provided that the plan of subdivision and the permit to the ministry are consistent with each other, then we would move ahead, or else being equal, we would move ahead with approval of the subdivision conditional upon subsequent receipt of a permit.
Okay, and the most recent plans that M&R looked at were October 2017. Is there any reason to think that the plans that will be, the plan of subdivision that comes before us will presumably look like what M&R was looking at in October 2017?
There have been no changes since the M&R reviewed the concept plan, and no reason to expect that there would be a difference.
Okay, and thank you for that. It's an interesting process. The CSR on page 11 speaks to the fact that the development will have 25% of housing affordable up to the 40th percentile. It meets the policy direction of the official plan. What is our mechanism? When are we going to ensure that that is followed through on?
Madam Chair, that is a standard sentence that we have that reflects official plan policy, and until further notice with respect to any legislative tools that the city may have at its disposal, it remains a policy direction, but it doesn't have the enforceability of a zoning bylaw.
So they have put forward the CSR to say, yes, we're going to meet the official plan, but we don't have any way to actually enforce that they do.
Enforce we don't, but we obviously have data to know what the levels are in terms of price for the regional market area as defined by the provincial policy statement, and there can be a comparison of how many units will be made available within that price range, but enforceability is not available at this time.
Okay, and when will we see their plans for how much of this will be affordable housing?
My best guess would be at plan of subdivision when they're starting to present the housing mix.
Okay. And then, I'm sorry, Nick, I may need to ask you to come up again, or the EIS speaks to the builder responsibility for oversight of some of the construction activities that might have environmental implications, monitoring to make sure that if they see a species at risk, that they're reporting that, making sure that they're not cutting down the wrong trees. This is an environmentally sensitive development, obviously. What kind of directions will go out to the contractors who are working on this site to make sure they follow through with those EIS recommendations with respect to monitoring?
Typically with species at risk and development in a sensitive area and habitat for species at risk, we require the proponent to prepare an information package for their contractors, which includes descriptions of and photographs of the species that may be encountered on the site, and specific instructions on what to do if they encounter one of those species. The developer, we typically ask the developer to have a biologist on call who can respond when the contractors run into those situations. And then in terms of other environmental impacts, the environmental planner will be monitoring the development, and of course one of our two planning foresters will also be monitoring the development as it goes along.
And do we get on site periodically?
Yes, absolutely.
Do we do any checks to make sure that the subs have received that information and get those information packages? Do we double check that?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Wonderful. Those are the questions I had. Thank you very much. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Julie, did you have anything that you wanted to add? I don't see any other questions from anyone else. Okay, and no questions for Julie? Okay, thank you. Is this item carried? Thanks very much. Thank you. Okay, so our last held item is Building Code Services branch staff increase. It was held by Councillor Hubley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My first question will be for Mr. Willis. At the time that we reduced the fees, it was around a discussion that there was a ample surplus in the reserves. I believe Councillor Cloutier had identified it was close to like a 5-year surplus in there. There was no discussion about the need to do any hiring at that time, and yet the most recent media article on this suggested that that's what we should have done. Could you speak to that, Mr. Willis, please?
That's a great question because the media was wrong. So Mr. Willis is prepared to speak to that.
That's why I asked him the question.
Thank you.
So, Madam Chair, it's important to go back and remember that under provincial legislation, for building code services, the city must set its fee in accordance with the cost of the services. That's what the law says. And the city can't use that money that comes in for any other purpose. It's in a segregated account under provincial law. We can't use it for any other activities within the planning department. It's solely related to the costs of building plan review, inspections, and enforcement activities. It's actually quite constrained. So, you can't predict year over year how much activity you're going to get, and that's why we have a reserve fund to allow us to smooth out the high years from the low years. But what happened in the previous round is the reserves have been building up year over year over year, and there's a point at which you actually run a risk of being offside of the provincial law if your reserves are too high. When you're sitting on 5 years' worth of reserves, you can't say that you're actually charging for the cost of the services. And one of the things that can happen is any applicant can actually challenge the fee they're being charged at any time, saying it's not related to the cost of the service. So that's why the city really didn't have a lot of choice. You couldn't do anything else at the time other than lower the fees. But we do review every single year. We review our fees at budget time. We look at the level of development activity. We look at the health of the reserve, and we are looking at staffing levels and Mr. Bedin can talk a bit more about what's changed in the last number of years. But what's changed significantly in the last 3 years has been a big uptick in the year over year in the amount of development activity because the economy is healthier. Economy is driven by confidence, big hiring in the public and private sector. All those things drive it, and things have changed a lot in the last 3 years in Ottawa. So we have a lot more volume, and as Mr. Bedin will also tell you, with the changes in what's being built, more institutional buildings, many more high-rises, the complexity of what we're building has changed. So I think our needs are changing because we're hitting that size as a city. So we're doing what we need to do, which is bring you the recommendation right now for additional staff to deal with our needs. And we review the fees every single year. And if the health of that reserve is not appropriate, we will recommend increases in the future, because if the reserve drops too much, we have to rebuild it with fees as well. So we do try to balance, but we don't have a crystal ball. But we certainly have to be responsible in the way we manage that money.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wilson. My next question will be for Mr. Bedin. The report talks about the need to hire, I believe, 12 people, but it also says there's 8 vacancies, which is contributing to your challenges right now. Is that 12, does that include that 8, or is it 8 plus 12? Just hit the button.
It's got to be red. The 12 are in addition. It's in addition to the complement itself. The 8 vacancies that we currently have right now, we're currently working on filling those vacancies right now. We have a number of couple of competitions currently underway, and we hope that by the end of this year that those will be filled. It's a bit of a constant battle, but we're continuing with that. The 12 are in addition to the overall complement to the branch. And they're in areas to deal with activity, just overall activity with respect to the branch, in terms of the support that we need in undertaking our legislative requirements, and also a number of positions to deal with inspections and to try to meet those demands. Areas also to help with a new program that deals with backflow prevention. We'll see some activity as a result over the next 10 years. We need to put some resources back into that as well. Additional resources also in the areas of inquiries and pre-consultation. That's an area that we're finding is obviously an emerging trend within our business right now, with more complicated building codes, regulations, and zoning bylaws and the like.
I'll just correct one thing you said. The backflow valve program, I thought you just said it was a new program? It's not a new program. Oh, and I'm not...
It's not a new program, but what we're seeing is the effects of that program now.
Okay, that program's been around for a while, more than 10 years, and I can tell you that I had a lot of experience with it in the West End, and we saw a fair bit of abuse or attempt to abuse that program, so I think it's a good idea that you do have extra inspectors on that program, so I support your proposal to hire for that. One question on these inspectors: does this include inspecting the work that utilities are doing in our areas, or is that a separate inspection function? Because we're way behind, and that's getting very messy.
So, Madam Chair, if I may take that question, Mr. Bedin's team do not inspect utilities. I'm just thinking of the foundation and everything up from that point is in their realm covered by the Building Code Act. So their responsibility is inspecting as it relates to the Building Code Act. We have a separate development inspections group. We also have separate pavement inspections groups in transportation. And we're actually in the process of doing a business consolidation where we have one inspector do all of those inspections. Right now there are two, and it's a bit erratic, so we're trying to improve our entire process by having one do it, and we're hoping by the end of 2019 all of those inspections will be consolidated under planning, infrastructure, and economic development, but we're working closely with transportation right now to bring that forward. We acknowledge the issue, and we want to improve the inspection process, and that's why we're trying to get one inspector to do all of those outside of the wall of the house inspections.
That would be fantastic. Okay, thank you both. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I just wanted to say it, and I've had conversation with Ms. Nedden and also with Cheryl Jensen on a number of opportunities in the last couple of weeks, and I know that Frank has been working with her too. It's not that easy just to get somebody and just have people apply. They have to be extremely qualified for these jobs. Of course, they would need to be, and there's not a large pool. But she does have a program for building inspectors, but what she now is looking at, further to our conversations, and I know Frank's as well, is having a master technician program, Kaboom, that the people who graduate will get an extra level. So, part of the problem over the years, and for those of us who've been around for a while, we know that there's not this ready pool, but Algonquin is a leader in Canada in providing programs that equal jobs and skilled jobs the moment someone graduates, like the program we have there with Hydro Ottawa. It is an award winner. And so we have linesmen fully trained, ready to hit the streets the day and have a job the day that they graduate. So I think there's absolutely the will of Algonquin to continue to work with us and to address the new needs that we have. Correct, Frank? I don't know, can we stop turning off Frank's mic, please? And help?
That is correct. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Who besides Councillor Brockington? Anybody? Councillor Brockington and Councillor Leeper.
Madam Chair, you just very well covered off my first question, which was going to be if there was a challenge both retaining and attracting qualified talent. And my fear would be as good as Ottawa is doing working with our colleges, my fear would be, we're sort of the industry leader working with post-secondary institution. We're attracting and educating, helping to educate new talent, but other municipalities at some point poach our own talent. So is there, in addition to what's happening in Ottawa, a provincial initiative that recognizes that this industry has scarcity in the marketplace for this talent, and that we are protecting ourselves not just today, but if we can foresee that there's going to be a shortage of qualified, employees in the future, that something's being done as well greater than Ottawa? Just a brief comment, and then I'll get to my other questions.
Yes, thank you. The Ontario Building Officials Association is very much involved in collaborating with a number of service providers in terms of providing educational opportunities province-wide. And yes, the industry it's right across the province in terms of this very specialized field. I think at this time, I believe George Brown College has a certificate program that provides fundamentals for building officials. But in addition to that, the City of Ottawa has a very successful building official interns program, to which we bring in candidates who have a good basic fundamentals of technology and construction and some building code experience as well. And we'll provide them with all of the necessary training and experience so they can vie for permanent positions within the branch. And it's been running since about 2009.
Good, thank you for that. How long will it take you to assess whether the 12 added FTE is the equilibrium that you need in the department? How long will it take for you to make that assessment?
I think it's very, very difficult to predict. Right now, what we're looking for is simply the addition to the complement so we can start working on it. There may be additional trends and changes within the construction landscape that require us, regulatory landscape to require us to change a little bit, but I think that it'll be a fairly immediate impact in terms of our ability to be able to meet legislative timelines. And I think we'll have a better understanding of the way forward in terms of the future.
And my final question, I'm not sure if I addressed this to you or Mr. Mark or whom, but I'm just trying to understand why this is coming to committee. Is it because we are spending part of the reserve and that requires the authority, or we're adding FTE outside of the budget year? What's the trigger that's coming back? Because I'd hope that some units, if you have staffing needs, you would automatically have that authority. But what's the trigger for the report?
So, Madam Chair, because this is the creation of new positions, not filling vacant FTEs, we do require committee's approval. And there is a financial implication to that approval that is affected this year's reserve, so we also require the approval of that. So the motion actually asks for both approvals.
Thank you. And now we have Councillor Leeper, followed by Councillor Blais.
Thanks. I think I may pose Councillor Brockington's question in a different way. Between 2015 and 2017, our on-time, if we can call it that, performance fell from 90% to 64%, if I'm reading correctly the report. When do you hope to get it back up to 90 or preferably better, 95 or 98 or 99.9% on time?
The overall statistics with respect to our performance in that time period were indicative of the overall performance right across the branch in all process streams, in all types of buildings. The different process streams and different kinds of buildings have different mandated turnaround times. There was one particular area that we did see a decrease in performance, and that was really around the smaller construction homes and the like. That area has already improved since that time with the additional hires. We've been filling our vacancies as we've been going along, very aggressively pursuing that, and with that we're already up about 10 to 12% already from that timeline, and we're hoping to bring it to approximately at least the 90 percentile, which is where we'd prefer it to be.
And that is going to be the result of hiring these new FTEs?
That is correct.
And so your assertion is that the number that you were asking for today is the right number to get us back there within a reasonable period of time?
That is correct.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Blais?
Thanks very much. Just to clarify, what do you mean by small houses? You said that you're seeing a 12% increase in small houses.
My apologies. The process stream is actually in small buildings and houses. These are defined terms under the Ontario Building Code in terms of their legislative timelines.
So that would be tract housing, what we consider development and subdivisions, et cetera?
That is correct.
Sure. One of the term of council priorities you suggest that this report addresses is to improve the client experience through established service expectations. What are the established service expectations for your department?
With respect to our legislative timelines, we would like to try, we endeavor to meet the provincial legislation that's set. For a single-family home for a production building, as an example, that would be a 10-day business day turnaround time from the date of application to the first complete review and identification, either a issuance of a building permit or the identification of deficiencies.
Sure. And so if a resident calls and suggests that their neighbor is doing something that's in violation of the building code, what would be the expected turnaround time from them to hear back from your department?
There is no provincial legislation on that, but internally we try to get back to our clients within 24 to 48 hours.
So 6 weeks and not hearing anything would be bad.
Absolutely.
And then denying that the call had come in the first place would also be bad.
That is correct.
Okay. Thanks, Madam Chair. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much. Okay, we do have to stay there, Frank, because if you could, because we have two speakers, so Ted Phillips, come forward, and then Jason. Are you coming together? Okay, so maybe you can scoot over one, Frank, please.
Absolutely.
Jason Berggraf is the new executive, are you executive director, is that your role at GOVA, Greater Ottawa Home Builders? And Ted Phillips, everybody knows Ted.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was going to introduce Jason. He's the new guy on the block, so I know he's gotten around to meet many of you. I thought I'd like to give a little bit of history for this, for what it's worth. About 15 years ago, maybe, Brian Coburn, who was the then Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, had received numerous complaints from builders across the province about not only the cost of building permits, but the time that we took to get them. Some municipalities held them for months and months and months, didn't review them. They basically used the issuance of a building permit to blackmail developers into doing things that they wanted them to do. And as a result of a committee called BRAG that was set up, the government of the day legislated that permits be issued within a certain time frame, and they also legislated that the reserves and the cost to pay for those would be something that the industry could challenge on an annual basis. And we have worked with Mr. Vidden since amalgamation to keep track of those costs, keep track of the times. He sits on a committee with Leanne and members of the industry, and we talk very regularly about the process, the timing of permits and so on, and he's kind enough to keep us updated with where things are at. The door is always open when we need to have a discussion about hiring staff or whatever. The industry has historically been always very supportive because now, as a result of legislation, we know exactly where the money sits and the communication lines are open. So I just want to thank Mr. Bidden for the report. The industry does support it. Jason was at Builder Developer Council last week, and maybe he can speak to that.
We just had a fulsome discussion. The majority of our builder members were there. To a company, they supported getting the additional staff on board, and we're just fully supportive.
And I don't know whether this came up or not, but and then likely the public doesn't know, but at no time is the public ever at risk of paying for our building inspectors. I think it's where you say they pay for their houses, but I'm talking about the general taxpayer that may think that this is a further burden or a tax grab in any way. It absolutely is not. So just to clarify that.
That is correct. Under provincial legislation, it is not a tax-supported program. It's fully supported by the revenue through building permit fees.
So Councillor Chiarelli will remember back in our Nepean days when we used to call it the slush fund. And in fact, we used to call it Jack's slush fund. Which used to anger him a great deal. But the fact was that ebb and flow with development, sometimes money comes in and sometimes money isn't going to be spent until probably, it was a lot faster. I'm sorry to say all the people building here and the PMA used to build a lot faster. But the process was faster. It just was. Right? Anyway, my point is that even back then, it's easy for people to have a look at this and think that there's something, a failure of some kind or an extra burden to the taxpayer, and I just thought it's an opportunity just to say it absolutely is not. Ted?
If I could, in closing, Madam Chair, just one comment. I know Councillor Hubley was a little caught off by some comments that had been made a few years ago with respect to the permit issuance. A previous executive director that we had didn't do as good a job as I know Jason is fully capable of doing and will be doing to make sure that councillors are aware because I know every penny counts to him, and he wants to make sure that money is wisely spent. So we do too, and that's certainly a common goal, so I appreciate his concern with this.
Good. Oh, yes, sorry. Did I forget to ask you? No, you
I just put it back.
Go ahead.
Thanks. And just really quickly, I mean, we carry a reserve that is now just slightly under 1 full year's of operating budget, I believe. Is that the right amount? You're comfortable with that level? Would you prefer to see it higher or lower?
I believe across the industry we're looking at about the operating, about 100% of our operating, and that would be an actual maximum number. So a little bit less, I don't have any concern. Really, it's about making sure that we don't run into a position where we cannot continue to enforce the Building Code Act without revenues.
But from the industry perspective, that roughly 1 year cost is a prudent reserve.
Again, when I sat on that committee, the Bragg Committee, there was a long discussion about the amount of the reserves, and the intention was that if there was a recession of a year or two, a department wouldn't have to be completely gutted. So it's not the intent that Mr. Bidden's department would be completely wiped out and it would only carry one given year. We might have a 1, 2, 3 year recession, and the point was that he would have money to continue to pay the staff that he's trained to be able to continue to work during that time frame. So I would say yes, as a whole, the industry is very supportive of the numbers that are established by the legislation and within the time frames and the numbers Mr. Bidden has.
Yeah, you want to retain capacity for when when development starts building back up again.
Yeah, so in a downturn, a prolonged downturn, our reserve would allow us to operate for several years without needing to drastically increase building permit fees, for example.
You still have fees coming in, right?
Yeah.
Even if they're...
You'll never have a 0 year, obviously. No, that's great. Thanks, Chair.
And I remember the last time or the time before that we discussed this, and many people were shocked by the amount of building permit fees there are. They're not high vis-a-vis the other fees that you do pay. And I know that a lot of people, there was comments then at that time where people said, really? It's $2,000? That kind of a thing. So anyways, I think that we have this well in hand. One thing, and so I thank you both for coming forward. Mr. Willis, one thing that I'm finding and I'm hearing here, and certainly with the work that we're doing on AVIN and precision agriculture, et cetera, basically the Internet of Things, all the new things that are going to be changing the way that we do business. I think that we're going to see more situations where we have people that are missing parts of training. And I'm wondering whether you have that discussion at the senior management table. And also, I'm wondering whether that's something that our human resources, as they outreach and that to schools, and I think that definitely to lower schools, when you have kids that are doing coding in grade 1 and grade 2, certainly I think we need to prepare the workforce of the future for the type of work that will be done, which is not static and may not be reflected in all the programming. And it's not just in this department. It could be any number of areas, certainly on waste, certainly on any of the environmental issues. And that. Is that something that's come up? And if it's not, is it something that you could bring up to the senior management team as an opportunity and a heads up, and have that discussion with our post-secondary and our school boards?
So, Chair, certainly in the senior management team, we are discussing talent shortages and difficulties in certain areas. It absolutely is an issue, and Ms. Gray can give more information on that at the first opportunity. But working closely with the post-secondary institutions is the answer. And on this particular issue, Mr. Bidden's been very, very proactive on that. He's actually part of an advisory committee for Algonquin on their programs on building trades. And I think that gives us an access to a pipeline of good candidates to come in, and as his association is working province-wide on this issue. I think this is where we're working closely with the educational institutions. But if I put the economic development hat on for a second that I wear, if you talk to the National Capital Heavy Construction Association, they'll tell you their entire industry is having a challenge with finding talented workers, and even the technology of construction is going to change dramatically in the next decade. So there has to be a concerted effort province-wide in how we train people for building trades and building inspections in parallel. So it's very much in flux right now, but I think we're doing everything we can do, and I think the good partnership Mr. Bedin has with Algonquin is probably our best opportunity.
Yeah, so, and that takes care of Mr. Bedin's part of it. But as I said, across our workforce, which is a large workforce in Ottawa, and I know for a fact that we're not having those conversations with the school boards, and that's where we need to. The kids let's face it, kids are not going to grade 13. They haven't been for a while. I know it's rare that I talk to a friend of one of my grandchildren that's in high school or whatever, that they actually clearly know where they want to go. I think that as a municipality, it's really important for us to make sure that they're aware of the changes that are coming, of the opportunities ahead of them, and I think that we should be doing that at the elementary level, with the school boards, and certainly by the time they get in and know that a place like Algonquin, for example, is going to give you that technical expertise. Something else that's come up is the fact that with all of the new Canadians or new wannabe Canadians or new immigrants that are coming here, we don't, nor should we, get to say, you should all be, we only want people who have this kind of background or that kind of background. Many people coming here are farmers, okay? And so we know that farming is changing dramatically. And certainly we are leaders in North America in what we're doing. So I just think that we have a major role to play with the future of our residents and certainly our city. Councillor Blake?
I just wanted to clarify, is your outreach including La Cité Collégiale? Because the Cité has a trades facility basically in Orleans, just down the street from one of the neighborhoods where we're having some challenges, and I'm wondering, if we're reaching out to them as well.
I haven't directly dealt with La Cité. I know that a number of my staff have a direct relationship there, and they've been promoting the field of building officials and building inspection with La Cité, but definitely further work is required in that area. Okay. Because I find with the four post-secondaries and the four school boards, they collaborate at their highest level, the Jennifer Adams and the Edith Dumont and et cetera, and I know that they meet monthly. And so they are cautious in not duplicating and looking for opportunities. I think that's good. I just think we have a bigger role to play. Okay, anybody else have anything else on that? So that item is carried? Right. Is it carried? Okay. Any notices of motion?
Madam Chair, will that go up to council tomorrow so that he can get the hiring done? Does it have to go through council so that staff can do the hiring process? Yeah. So will it rise tomorrow? Do we need a motion to make that rise?
Do you want it to rise tomorrow?
I think so. They've built a good case as why they need to do this right away, so let's do it.
Can you write it out, please?
Okay.
From Councilor Hubley. Yes?
Sorry. May I suggest there is no urgency for it to rise tomorrow, in that we have the confidence to start the processing, but we have a lot of box-scenes HR work that have to be done knowing that these positions are coming. I appreciate the generosity of the offer, but with council's agenda, I think we could wait normal process on this, and it would not hold us up on our efforts of getting ready to recruit. Okay.
Okay. Bigger fish to fry. So, any notice of motions? How about inquiries? Any other business? Well, guess what, folks? We get to come back here. I think we're the only committee meeting on Tuesday, September the 25th, and then we'll have another one in October. And well, I mean, you could control that with not making quorum, I suppose, but we'd be in trouble. Just one in October. What date? It's before, around Thanksgiving. The 10th? Yeah. Yes. I think it's about the 10th, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Anyways, we have one, and then we have one in November. 2 in November. We have 2 right now. We have 2 in November. Okay. All right. More fun. Okay. Thanks, everybody. We're adjourned.